And now, the general weather around Alaska.
Welcome to Alaska Weather. I'm meteorologist Peter Chan, coming to you from the National Weather Service in Alaska region on this Tuesday, December 17th, 2024. And talking about just how things are shaping up here across the state of Alaska as we go through the Christmas holiday and right up through the end of the month. The active weather will continue at times across areas of the Bering Sea, especially lower Bering and Aleutians, and then pushing up into the Gulf as a series of low pressures lift out of the North Pacific and impact these areas. And then eventually around and just after Christmas, we may see a system pull up some more moisture along the west coast with some snow to likely follow. It'll be a bit quieter with some high pressure building in through the interior and northwest Canada, kind of holding put here over the next week or two. Not quite as much the potential for heavier snowfall, though can't rule out a couple intervals of snow working through over the next couple of weeks. And a reminder, the winter solstice in the northern hemisphere occurs very early Saturday, December 21st at around 2:20 a.m. But it looks like above normal temperatures and precipitation will continue over the southeast mainland along the Gulf Coast and into the Panhandle through the end of December, with a bit below normal temperatures up along the Chukchi coast, especially between Point Hope and Utqiagvik. And as we take a look at the FAA webcams from this Tuesday afternoon, Shishmaref having some light blowing snow, 16 degrees. A winter weather advisory is in effect until midnight tonight, as east winds may gust at times up around 35 miles an hour, reducing visibilities to as low as a half mile in a little bit of light snow and blowing snow. Now, along the south end of the Alaska Peninsula, there is a high wind warning in effect later this evening through early Wednesday morning. Cold Bay and False Pass, breezy, light rain showers there as of mid-afternoon, 39 degrees, but winds could gust as high as 80 miles an hour, especially through the gaps and along some of the higher terrain there, down along the south end of the Alaska Peninsula, late this evening through early Wednesday morning. Valdez seeing mostly cloudy skies, a few breaks, a fair amount of snow cover there, way up on the far north interior end of the Gulf, 25 degrees. Metlakatla is under a winter weather advisory for this Tuesday evening through Wednesday afternoon. There's an approaching system coming in up from the southwest. 37 degrees right now, but we expect snow to break out for tonight and through at least Wednesday afternoon, maybe 3 to 7 inches of accumulation. There's a potential there could be a little bit of an icy mix trying to come in there, a little bit of light freezing rain or sleet as the system develops here through the overnight hours. Now here's the current hazardous weather map showing the advisories and warnings. So I'm going to start with, let's start up here in the west. So the area, Buckland, Deering on over to Shishmaref is under a winter weather advisory till midnight this Tuesday evening. For brisk easterly winds causing blowing snow. A little in the way of additional snowfall is expected. There's been a little bit of light snow and flurries this afternoon, but that will go away later tonight. And then here along the Alaska Peninsula, the lower portion, including Sand Point and Cold Bay, False Pass, these areas could see high winds with gusts of 70 to 80 miles an hour, especially through the gaps. Be very strong southeast winds, not just along some of the higher terrain of land areas, but out over the water. So that is why that high wind warning is in effect through 6 a.m. Wednesday. There still is a wind advisory downwind of Isabel Pass in the vicinity of Delta Junction, where winds will likely continue to gust 40 to near 50 miles an hour in some areas into Wednesday afternoon. And then here in the Panhandle, we have winter weather, I shouldn't say winter weather, a cold winter cold advisory here for 30 below wind chills up there toward White and Chilkoot passes through tonight into early Wednesday morning. And then finally, here is that winter weather advisory for accumulating snow, Prince of Wales Island and the areas surrounding Ketchikan, Metlakatla, Hyder. 3 to as much as 7 inches of snow will fall through Wednesday afternoon. That's tonight through Wednesday afternoon. And there could be a little bit of light icy mix coming in as low pressure comes up out of the North Pacific and crosses right over Haida Gwaii and Dixon entrance through Wednesday morning and afternoon. So here's a little bit more on that winter weather advisory for the southern panhandle. It includes Craig, Kasan, Heidelberg, Ketchikan, Metlakatla, Hyder. These areas could pick up as much as 3 to 7 inches of snow, causing slippery roads. And again, there's even the possibility there could be a little freezing rain mixing in, so keep that in mind. And then back out to the west here along the Alaska Peninsula, lower Alaska Peninsula, Nelson Lagoon, Cold Bay areas. Could see peak winds as high as 60, 70 miles an hour, especially through some of the gaps in higher terrain. The winds are going to be equally strong over some of the water areas where storm warnings are in effect. So this high wind warning is in effect until early on Wednesday morning. And a reminder, this weekend, very late Friday night and early Saturday morning, 12:21 a.m. Saturday morning, Alaska Standard Time, the winter solstice occurs. After that point, we will slowly be going back into the light. And looking at what we have for precipitation, cloud cover across the region, here comes that low out of the North Pacific that's going to be passing northeastward in this direction, bringing that snow to the southern panhandle tonight into Wednesday. We have another low down here in the North Pacific also pulling northward. It's kind of a collective of lows. And as we go through time, the ones out here, this is a pretty deep low, the one that's south of the eastern Aleutians, a 950 low as of this afternoon. We have the next low at 982 coming out of the North Pacific. That's as this front lifts north with rain, it's going to encounter the colder air over the panhandle, and that's why we have that winter weather advisory for accumulating snow and maybe a little bit of a light icy mix for tonight and into Wednesday afternoon. Meanwhile, areas of the interior still seeing some mostly clear to partly cloudy skies thanks to high pressure that extends from central into northwest Canada. Last night we did get a minor geomagnetic storm that did produce a burst of aurora light here across areas that had clear skies. Could see them up around Fairbanks. It was a nice display. A few photos were shared there. And then out here along the Bering Strait, we do have a trough that's kind of residing there. And by the time we get into late tonight, early on Wednesday morning, that low draws closer to the south end of the panhandle, and snow will be overspreading those areas under the advisory. Meanwhile, high pressure holds over western northwest Canada. Not especially strong, but above 1030 millibars, and the low that's south of the eastern Aleutians, 948 low. That's the reason why we have enhanced the the pressure gradient, the packed isobars here over the southern portion of the Alaska Peninsula. That's why there is that high wind warning in effect for late tonight through early on Wednesday morning for the potential of wind gusts 70 to 80 miles an hour there. And then by Wednesday, that pressure gradient relaxes a bit, not quite as strong. The low that comes up pushes inland into northwest Canada, and then there's another low coming up out of the North Pacific Wednesday afternoon with a couple of other lows that are just going to kind of flip around and dumbbell over the Aleutians through the midweek period. So that on Thursday, this is the next low coming up out of the North Pacific that'll push up into the Gulf to close out the week, especially with impacts Friday along areas of the Gulf Coast into the Panhandle. Meanwhile, still general high pressure over northwestern Canada, far north, and back into eastern Russia as we head through Thursday afternoon. So temperature-wise tonight, coldest readings along the Alcan border, Yukon Flats, 20 degrees below zero, a little colder than that likely. Also cold along the North Slope, readings getting down in the 10 to 15 below range, pretty common. Warmest temperatures are going to be out along the Alaska Peninsula as that low lifts north out of the North Pacific. Temperatures stay in the lower 40s there. And then back out here toward the southern panhandle where there will be some periods of snow, possibly mixed with a little light freezing rain, especially later tonight into through Wednesday morning and afternoon. Lows will be down near just below freezing there in the southern panhandle, Ketchikan, Craig, up to the north chillier. 14 there is Skagway, 15 Juneau, and up there toward White Pass. That area there could see wind chills as cold as 30 below. For Wednesday afternoon, we're looking at temperatures to get a little above freezing in the southern panhandle, staying below freezing, Wrangell, Petersburg, northward. We expect high temperatures rather to be below zero along the Alcan border into the central interior and long areas of the North Slope and west Arctic coast. As we drop on down along Kuskokwim, Bristol Bays, temperatures may be near the freezing mark and then above freezing, especially trailing out the Alaska Peninsula, lower 40s expected there all the way, say, from King Salmon and Kodiak City down to Unalaska. Thursday morning lows a bit colder, 25 below around Fort Yukon, 27 below Northway, as the cold may intensify, especially if you have any clear skies up through this area. And the southern panhandle just above freezing, but otherwise still teens to near 20. Juneau northward up into the north end of the panhandle. And then out along the Alaska Peninsula and into the Aleutians, look for lows upper 30s to near 40 degrees. And for Thursday, we do find readings back up around or just above 40 for the southern and western panhandle, including Metlakatla, Craig up to Sitka. And then from Homer down to Kodiak City, back toward trailing out into the eastern Aleutians, high temperatures will be back up around or a bit above 40. Coldest readings still over east central interior and along the Elcan border, 16 below for the high there, Northway, 15 below for Fort Yukon. And along the Arctic coast, temperatures may just bump up a little bit, but still a few degrees either side of the 0 mark, and temperatures through the Bering Strait, 15 at Wales, 28 over at Savunga, 20 at Monac. So there'd be some colder temperatures residing here over the northwest portion of the state. And this is going to be the trend through the Christmas holiday, December 23rd through the 27th. The latest 6 to 10 day outlook has the best chance for above normal temperatures over the southeast mainland, including Anchorage, Copper River Basin, Kenai Peninsula, Prince William Sound, eastward through Yakutat, and including all of the Panhandle. Meanwhile, there's the potential for temperatures to average below normal, especially north of Kotzebue, including Kivalina, up toward Point Lay and Utqiagvik. And then precipitation in this kind of pattern would favor moisture being drawn northward from the North Pacific up into the Gulf, so that will impact areas along the Gulf Coast. If any of that moisture can push inland, we do expect the potential for precipitation to average above normal up into areas of the interior and maybe just near normal for a change along areas of the West Coast, including Nome and around Norton Sound down through the lower Yukon Valley and Delta. So that's the way things are shaping up here as we head into next week and approach the Christmas holiday.